Then we get the big signing. It was advertised. Tony Khan said that at Full Gear, one of the most respected and best wrestlers in the world has come to terms on an agreement with AEW, and that person will sign their contract at AEW Full Gear. A lot of speculation on Mercedes Moné, Will Ospreay. Goldberg's name was tossed around. Even people like Dolph Ziggler, who it can't be him anyway because the 90-day shit's not up. So I predicted in the predictions that it's going to be Will Ospreay. He's the one that made the most sense. The way Tony Khan worded the tweet, it didn't feel like this is going to be some brand new name. And we know that Will Ospreay is a highly sought after, or going to be a highly sought after free agent when his contract is up in February of next year. And we even speculated in the predictions that, because a lot of people were like, well, how can it be Will Ospreay if he's still under contract? And I'm like, well, AEW and New Japan have a working agreement. I'm sure some conversations could be had there and some concessions could be made. We already see Will Ospreay on AEW TV all the time. He's had a bunch of matches there. So if he makes his intentions known to his employer, hey, when my contract is up, I'm going to go to AEW, which means I'm going to kind of still be here anyway, because as long as we're working together, I can still make appearances for you. So would it be cool if I just signed with them now? Like, give me the freedom to negotiate the deal, so to speak. Maybe that wasn't a real contract he signed on Saturday, and maybe he technically can't sign his deal until his New Japan deal is up, but he can come to terms on a deal. So maybe this allowed him to negotiate with Tony Khan. I think Ospreay has retained Barry Bloom. I think he's a Barry Bloom guy, so Barry got him the deal that he wanted. Apparently, he's not even going to have to relocate from the UK. He's going to be able to stay there, which is great. Those are probably back-breaking flights once or twice a week, which has got to be madness. But being able to not have to uproot his family was probably very attractive. The money, I'm sure, is very comparable to WWE because Tony Khan is swimming in money. And I felt like AEW was the better home for Will Ospreay. I have no doubt WWE would take Will Ospreay and make him a massive star. Huge fucking star. I'm a big fan of his theme song too. I just like it. So just thinking of that in like a WrestleMania entrance, because when I saw his All In entrance, I really liked like with the pyro on the outside of the building. And I kind of thought, I'm like, man, imagine this guy, having a fucking match at WrestleMania against Seth Rollins or something. It would just be killer. It would be killer. So if Ospreay went to WWE, I'd be perfectly fine with that, because I know with Triple H in charge, he's not going to Vince this guy. Triple H is going to take care of Ospreay, and I feel like Ospreay is primed to have a career at least as successful as AJ Styles. What AJ did in TNA, Will Ospreay can do it here in AEW. 5 years from now, when he's 35, he can go to WWE and have a career there if he chooses. And I feel like he's the best in-ring worker in the world today. There's lots of great workers, like in Seth Rollins and Danielson, and great workers all over the place. But I just feel like Ospreay is the one, when I think about guys like Danielson and AJ Styles especially, he's just one that I'm looking at and I'm saying that these guys are going to be very similar. I think Will Ospreay is, quite frankly, on a different level than Ricochet. I feel like he's more of a main eventer. He has more command in his voice with the bruv and all that. He's just great. And he's matured, because back, 8 years ago, he still was a little baby face. He still looked a lot like Nick Wayne, but now he's filled out. He's gotten bigger, more athletic, and he looks more of a man, and he's great. I remember about a year ago, I just went down the Will Ospreay rabbit hole and spent a whole night on YouTube. And I was just like, this guy's fucking phenomenal. And I always knew he was good. I've seen a bunch of his matches, but I've never really studied him, and I'm like, oh man, he's my guy. So I've been very, very pro Ospreay for over a year now. And I just feel like he's the future. He is a guy that I think can still have a big time Hall of Fame career in both companies. I think Ospreay, you have to consider the fact that him and MJF one day in the future could go to WWE. I don't think anybody's going to be one company for life. I just think the business is too different and things are going to happen and opportunities, people are going to get other opportunities and, they could just bounce. But in terms of the present, Will Ospreay and MJF being in AEW is where they both need to be. Now, of course, this has sparked some exhausting debate on social media, as usual, because The Tribals are out en masse for this one. The only thing this comes down to is who Ospreay signed with, because he signs with AEW and you get the comments like, oh, is it really that big of a deal? Signing the best wrestler in the world. What do you guys think? Is that a big deal? No? He's not a big enough star. Not enough people know who he is. Well, wait, motherfucker. People will. What the hell do you think the point of signing with an American-based national TV promotion is? Is to get him that exposure, and look at what they've done with MJF. There's plenty of room for success in AEW with Will Ospreay. I think they signed him and are going to treat him like a main eventer, not like Commander. So it's a very big deal that he's there. And he is a main eventer, and he's going to prove that to you. If you're a fan of AJ Styles, you can't not be a fan of Will Ospreay, Like, how can you sit there and have AJ Styles as your banner on your Twitter page and then throw shade at Will Ospreay for not being a big enough star? Are you fucking high? Of course he is. And I think he's going to prove that to everybody. What a great and exciting talent he is. So I wish Will Ospreay nothing but the best, but I would never downplay his signing just because he signed with the company that fans on the internet have convinced me not to like. It's so fucking stupid. What is the point of that? If Ospreay signed with WWE, these same people would say, oh, Tony Khan really dropped the ball, must have been doing too much cocaine, and he lost Will Ospreay to WWE, and they're going to turn him into a megastar because he's a great talent. Oh, he's a great talent all of a sudden. Because if he would have signed with AEW, it's not that great. So it's so easy to spot. Tribal fans are so fucking transparent. They're clear. You can just see right through them. It's so easy to spot a tweet with nasty intentions or bad faith because they don't know how to control their emotions. And they look like morons when they sputter out nonsense about a company they don't like because they are just programmed to downplay any news that comes out of there. No matter how big, whatever, man, they didn't shut the fuck up for weeks about the all-in attendance. And I'm like, are we really nitpicking a few thousand here? Or are we just going to say, holy shit, 75,000 plus people showed up to a non-WWE wrestling event? That's a pretty cool accomplishment. But no, it's all about being all up Tony Khan's ass for touting his numbers. Oh, he's lying in the turnstiles and blah, blah, blah. This is what you care about. This is what matters to you. All because you're a tribal bitch. Man, oh man, like, is it really that hard to envision Will Ospreay in AEW and Will Ospreay in WWE and say, you know what? Both would be awesome, because they both would. But no, tribalism and the bias will just completely cloud and flood your brain with a river of shit and make nothing make any sense. And you just see that all online, the downplaying of blah, blah, blah is not a big deal and nobody cares. Somebody today on Twitter told me that, that's a shame that he signed with AEW because, WWE could have put the machine behind him, and AEW doesn't have the ability to do that. What do you mean? The machine, the WWE machine. So in your mind, not being WWE discredits a wrestling company? That's pretty short-sighted, if you ask me. And that's what a lot of fans do. The tribal ones, they start pointing at WWE's numbers. SmackDown did 2.4 million. Look how many people WWE draws. We know which company's bigger. The fact that you have to remind yourself of that and whack off to that type of stuff every day is kind of weird, wouldn't you say? Everybody fully grasps the fact that WWE is a much bigger, broader, global brand than AEW. AEW is 4 years old. WWE is 60. WWE's had decades of success. Their brand is out there and cemented and dug into the fabric of this world like never before. It is not up for debate. We know which company is number one and which company is number two. But the fact that this is what the WWE content has done to fans, not having any competition for 20 years, has programmed them to believe that if you're not WWE, you're shit, that you don't even matter. Some people like NBA. Some people prefer college basketball over the NBA. Maybe I have a different perspective because I lived in North Carolina for so long. I lived right there on Tobacco Road, right in the middle of Duke, Carolina, NC State, Clemson, Wake Forest. college basketball country. I didn't have one single friend that preferred the NBA over college. Everybody preferred college. It was more exciting. The games were faster. They're different than the NBA. All sorts of reasons why they preferred college basketball over the NBA. They're both basketball. One's the NBA, one's college. But they're both exciting. And they both know how to play the game. And a lot of these college players are going to go to the NBA. And that's even not a very good comparison because one's amateur and one's not. AEW is not amateur. AEW is picking from the same wrestling talent pool that WWE is. They go after the same talent. There's a bunch of people in WWE who used to be in AEW and a bunch of people in AEW who used to be in WWE because they're all pro wrestlers. So it's not even amateurs and pros. It's pros and pros just working for different companies. And because AEW is smaller in scale, in a tribal fan's mind, that discredits them as not being a good place to work. Tony Khan's a fucking cokehead, idiot, moron. Do you really think that Adam Copeland and John Moxley and Danielson and all of these people would work for this guy if that was the case? Yet Johnny Fuckboy Bunch of Numbers in his uncle's basement, he's mad at AEW for reasons that are just plain made up because he got a stick up his ass. So the tribal shit came out a lot with the Will Ospreay signing, and I was laughing at it for the most part because I'm like, what the fuck? It just does not matter. The AEW could announce that they signed Roman Reigns and bring Roman Reigns out there, and the fans would be like, he was never that good. They would. They'll downplay anything, and it's a comedy at this point. So it doesn't matter whatever AEW announces. Sometimes Tony Khan says, hey, I got a big announcement, and his announcement sucks. But sometimes his announcements don't suck. They're great, but it doesn't matter because they're always going to be downplayed and criticized no matter what because of the company that comes out of. But you can have two wrestling companies. It's okay to have one bigger than the other. I don't consider that a dunk. I consider that obvious. To point out that WWE is bigger than AEW is a weak way to make yourself feel good.